What an inspiring day it's been. It's some truly amazing speeches that have been given today, a lot of things to take away. I got to thinking a little bit about what I was talking about today, and there's been a lot of comments made about what I think about each and every day of my life now. We all have dreams. Some are big, some are small, but I believe within inside of us all we have dreams. And inherently within us, we want to make a difference, whether it's within our families, our communities, the world. Somewhere inside of us, we want to make an impact on others. We just have to find what that is within us to make those impacts on those communities and those individuals that we love and care about so much. As was mentioned, I'm a Marine veteran. My wife is a Marine veteran. We served our country honorably. We were honored to be able to do that and to walk each and every day knowing that we did something good for the betterment of our fellow man in this country. A long time ago, many years ago, long before I had the beard, I was a little boy in central West Virginia, and I had big dreams. Number one, I wanted to get out of central West Virginia. I didn't know anything else except central West Virginia. So I graduated high school, joined the Marine Corps, got a chance to travel the world, experience life. Met my lovely wife of now 18 years. We have 2 beautiful children. And as I got out of the Marine Corps, my wife got out of the Marine Corps, we started living what we considered the American dream. We had the house, the jobs, the kids, the dog, the cats, you know, the normal things. But there was always something missing inside. I always felt like there was more that I could do. Sometimes those dreams that we have, we feel like we're the only ones that believe in them. A lot of times the challenge is getting others to believe in those dreams with you. I had this dream, as I talk about here in a little bit, of this run across America that I did a couple years ago. And when I first mentioned it to my wife, she bought in completely. Because for 14 years, she had always bought in completely to my dreams because she knew 6 months later I would be off in a different path and would never go through with it. She would just say yes and go on and we'd be fine. But 6 months later, I was training. I wasn't at that point alone. I wasn't the only one on that journey. This photo is one of my favorite photos from the run. And in it, I think it describes exactly how we sometimes feel with our dreams. We feel like we're the only one that believes that we can do it. So often as we grew up, people challenged us and said, no, you can't do that. You don't have the talent. You don't have the skills. You don't have the knowledge. A lot of times we just needed the support and we would have been able to do it. And while this photo does make it look like I'm the only one on the planet, because this is my Where's Waldo moment on the trip, as a matter of fact, I'm in this photo. I'm in the upper right-hand corner, the little orange dot up here in eastern Oregon. Looks like I'm all by myself on the planet. So often we feel that way. But I knew I wasn't alone on that day. My wife was taking the picture. My kids were with me. My mom was with us at the time, helping me and encouraging me to get through that journey each and every day. A lot of times we just need to take that initiative and get others to believe in what it is that you want to see accomplished. And when you have that team with you, there's really nothing you can't do. There's an old African proverb that says, when you want to go fast, go alone. But when you want to go far, go as a team. Well, I wanted to go far, really far. And to really give you an idea of the distance, I had to show you the distance. 3,452 miles in 100 days. Do the math, 34.5 miles a day. Now, the challenge with this is, trying to wrap your mind around the distance. The other part is helping you understand that I was not always a distance runner. 5 years ago, this week, as a matter of fact, the Richmond Marathon is happening today. 5 years ago, that was my first ever marathon I ran. 2 years, 4 months later, I was standing in Coos Bay, Oregon in the Pacific Ocean, and 100 days later, across the ocean in the Atlantic. Having ran further than I ever thought I would go, having a team beside of me, supporting me and encouraging me along the way, and doing it because I had a purpose and a passion. I wanted to support our brave men and women that continued to serve us. I felt very honored and lucky that I was able to get out with all my physical and I guess arguably my mental capacities intact. But there were a lot that weren't, and I wanted to do something to support them. See, when I ran that marathon, that was the first time I'd really ever pushed myself to that distance. And then 6 weeks later, I ran a race called the Frozen Sasquatch, which was aptly named because it was a 50K in Charleston, West Virginia, on January 2nd, 16 degrees when I started, 14 when I finished, and 6 inches of snow, and it was a 50K, so 31 miles through the mountains. And after that race, I was in the car, we were heading back home, and I was not driving, I was in no condition to drive, but I was on my phone trying to find the next race. Because I found within myself something that I never thought I could accomplish. And as I continued to go further and further, 40-mile races, 50-mile races, I literally went from 3-mile casual runs to 50-mile overnight races in about 10 months. I was doing it injury-free, and I thought to myself, there's got to be something more to it than this. And that's when I came up with the idea for the run. I've seen a lot of people raising a lot of money, a lot of awareness for different groups and people that they were passionate about, and I wanted to take what I'd been given and now turn it around to help others. When I started this journey, I thought to myself, I was going to go out and inspire others with what I was doing. And I realized very quickly I would be the one that would be inspired by the brave men and women, the heroes that I had a chance to meet along the way. And it was very quick in the realization of this. On day 3 of my run, I run in front of the Roseburg VA Hospital in Roseburg, Oregon, a visit that we had planned and stopped at on the way there. 95 miles into the journey, and I go in, or I run around in front of the hospital, and as I come around the corner, there's 150 staff, patients, family members outside cheering me on, saying, "Run, Jamie, run. Thank you, Jamie." Had signs made up, waving the American flag. And as you can see in the photo, I'm saluting a flag as I'm going by. It's the Marine in me. It's what I do. But what's hard to see is the tears coming down my face at this point. Because here I was doing this run for them, and they were cheering me on. It was a very humbling moment. I go inside the hospital, and I spent an hour talking to these patients. They were all dealing with a multitude of issues. Post-traumatic stress, TBI, some missing limbs, drug and alcohol addiction, all kinds of things. And all I did was spend that hour explaining to them that I was doing this run, taking every single step for them, that it was not about me. A lot of questions, a lot of jokes, a lot of carrying on, because that's what we do. And I had one guy in the back, right when I was finishing, raise his hand. He's a Vietnam veteran. All he knew was the friends and family that he had in the hospital because he had no family outside. He was in and out of the hospital all the time. That's the relationships and the people he felt close to. And he tells me, or he raises his hand and he says, "Are you looking forward to getting back home, getting to the finish?" And I said, "That's 97 days away from now. I can't worry about that right now. I'll let tomorrow worry about tomorrow. I just want to get through today." And he looked at me and he said, "We do the exact same thing. We put our heads down at night, praying. We wake up the next morning. We wake up, thankful we awoke, and we do our best to get through our days. And that's all we can try to do." 2 days later, I'm making my way up to Diamond Lake on the run. My wife gets a phone call from the public affairs officer at the hospital. She says, "I've got some stories I want to share with you." And she started sharing some of the stories, and then she started talking about that Vietnam veteran. She said that he told her, or that she said it was the only thing that he had talked about since we had left. He told her it was the first time he'd ever felt like somebody outside those walls really cared about him. And I said, here we are 5 days into this run, and we're already having an impact like that. I could stop right now. I could feel like I've accomplished my mission, but we've got so much more to do. A year ago, as the Military Bowl is getting ready to happen in Annapolis, I'm off on a 101-mile run, reliving the last 3 days of my journey to the Naval Academy to kick off the Military Bowl. A week later, I'm down in Charleston because I have issues and running the Frozen Sasquatch again. And then the next day, I'm running a half marathon in Fairmont, West Virginia. And as I'm running along, legs completely trashed, about 4 miles in, I have a young man run up beside me, and he goes, "Semper Fi, Marine." And I look over, and I can tell he's a Marine. He's got the haircut, start sharing some of his stories. And he says, "I'm with the Drum and Bugle Corps, been in the Marine Corps a few years, and I'm really, really glad that I got a chance to run into you today." And I said, "Well, I'm glad I got a chance to meet you as well," shared a little bit of my stories. And he said, "No." He said, "I want you to know, what you're doing for us really means the world to us. Because I continue to do these runs. I continue to try to raise awareness and support our vets as best I can and helping them understand that we care about them." But he said, "We've been following you since you stuck your feet in the ocean in Coos Bay, Oregon." And he said, "It helps us remember that we have people out there that care about us." You see, when I did this run, I never knew the impact that it would potentially have. I started off wanting to make an impact on the military, the friends and family that I had that were involved in it, And I wanted my kids who were with me along the way to understand that we were doing something for the greater cause. I had a guy before I took off on the run that I was doing an interview with, and at one point he says, "Are you worried about your kids seeing you go through this? Seeing Daddy go through all the challenges and the struggles and the injuries that I dealt with. I had challenges along the way." And I said, honestly, I want them to be a part of it. They were 12 and 10 at the time. I said, I want them to see me go through that because I want them to see me overcome those challenges. I want them at some point down the road to face challenges themselves and believe that they can overcome anything. Because somewhere down the road, I want to see them accomplish far greater things than I ever did. It's what every dad wants. So we took off on this journey and spent that time together. About a year ago, I go pick my son up. I'm with my running club one evening. And I go pick my son up from his youth group that night. And on our way home, I'm talking to him about what they talked about. Try to make that connection. He's 13 at the time. And he says, our topic today was doubt. Now, for those of you that have been 13 at one point, everybody, raise your hand. You understand at that age, there's a lot of doubt that creeps in. You deal with school, friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, all kinds of changes going on. A lot of opportunity for doubt to creep in. So I listened. We talked. We get to the house. I go downstairs to check my email as I do before I go to bed at night. He goes upstairs to get a shower. And I come upstairs, and as I'm walking past the kitchen table, I look on the kitchen table, and there's a piece of brown paper bag that was ripped, but it was folded up laying on the table that I didn't notice when we walked in. So I opened the piece of paper up, and I read it. And I walk upstairs, and I gave it to my wife, who at this point, she opens it up and reads it, and she gets very concerned because, she sees me walking in with tears in my face. And today, that piece of paper is framed and hanging down in my basement. As I said, one of the things I wanted to do was make an impact on those that I loved and cared about. And my kids were one of the biggest challenges that I wanted to make sure that I took upon myself to make sure that someday they did something pretty great themselves. On that piece of paper, that evening, he'd written, when I think about doubt, I think about how my dad ran across America. And if he can do that, then I can do anything. Every ounce of pain, energy, suffering that we went through on that run, every happy moment, sad moment, everything that we accomplished on that journey was worth that piece of paper right there. Those kids, my son and my daughter, are going to do far greater things than I ever did when they grow up. I had a dream that I believed we could go out and do something pretty special. I wanted to make an impact on others to help them understand that they can make an impact themselves down the road. And to see that come out of my children now and see the things that they're accomplishing, that I know somewhere down the road, somebody's going to look at them and say, you know what, your dad ran across America, that's awesome. And they look back and say, yeah, so what, look what I did. That's what I want. I want to be the one raising their hand, cheering them on, letting them know that I'm extremely proud of them. And I want them to continue to achieve far greater things than myself. Don't ever stop dreaming, however big or small those dreams can be. I found something that I'm able to do, and I'm able to give back with it. I'm able to make an impact on others, and hopefully those will continue to make impact on others themselves. We can make a difference. You've just got to believe in yourself. You take what you know you can do, and you pour yourself into it. I certainly don't encourage anyone to run across America. It's the toughest thing I've ever done, but it's been the absolute most rewarding thing I've ever done. Find your passion, pour yourself into it, make a difference. You have it within you. Just believe. Thank you.